Hi curlies and women with all hair types. I'm Cynthia, the curly baby boomer, and I'm going to depart from my usual videos about curly hair and talk about skincare. This is a request from some women who remarked about my last video, and they were interested in what I did, and so I decided to make this video. Let me just say that I'm not a dermatologist, I'm not a skincare professional in any way. I'm just a user like you, but I do my research and I'm pretty frugal, so I'm pretty careful about the stuff that I buy and the stuff that I use. I'm 64. I've never had any procedures, I've never had any fillers, I've never had any Botox. What you see is pretty much what I am. In this video, I'm going to address the two things that I think are the most important things that you can do for your skin, and that is using sunscreens and using retinoids. So if you're interested in learning more about that, stay with me. Also, I'm going to talk a lot about the why, because as a user of skincare, that's what I want to know. Why bother? Why spend my money? Why should I do something? We're bombarded with all these skincare products on the market, and I don't know which one to buy. So I really want to know the details of what the benefits are of different products. Let's start with sunscreen. Doesn't everybody know that they need to use sunscreen? Well, apparently not, because the American Academy of Dermatology put out a study a few years ago that said only 42.6% of women use sunscreen on their face on a regular basis, and 34.4% use it on other exposed parts of their body on a regular basis. The percentages are much worse for men. So 18.1% of men use it on their face on a regular basis. The percentage is slightly higher on other exposed parts of their body, but it's only 19.9%. Apparently, not everybody is using sunscreen. So I want to tell you about my history. I'm very fair skinned and I burn easily. I can get a tan, but I have to really work at it. When I was about 19, after my freshman year of college, I got a really serious burn. I was out at the beach. This is pre-sunscreen. And I was wearing a t-shirt, and it was a really hazy, cloudy day, and I was out there for several hours. Well, what happened was I got such a serious burn, I think it was a second-degree burn, that I was in such pain that I suffered for several days after, and I went through cans and cans and cans of Solarcaine. For those of you who remember Solarcaine, spraying myself and spraying myself. Didn't go to a doctor, probably should have. It was a life lesson. Never did I repeat that. I got a tan one time after that, and it was on my honeymoon in St. Croix. But I never repeated that incident again. After that, I pretty much stayed away from the sun and I took a lot of precautions. But there weren't a whole lot of precautions to take because sunscreen was in its infancy at that point. When I was 25, I started using sunscreen in my moisturizer every day. I made that decision. I was feeling pretty smug about that. Oh, I started using sunscreen at a really early age. Well, I recently did some research on that. And guess what? Back in the 80s, the sunscreen and moisturizer was pretty weak. It was SPF factor 2, 4, or 6. But even worse, it only addressed the UVB factors. UVB addresses the burning rays of the sun, and it does protect against some of the skin cancers that you can get, but it did not address UVA rays. UVA rays are the rays that come through the windows, through your car, through the clouds. through your umbrella if you're sitting at the beach. So you don't necessarily see it or feel it, but they're there and they're extremely harmful. They also cause skin cancer. And actually, the FDA didn't start requiring that they include protection against UVA rays until 1997, which means I went about 17 years without any protection against UVA rays. Feeling smug didn't get me much because I was not protected. So I was basically screwed. That's what I'm saying. In fact, I did get skin cancer. I got squamous cell skin cancer on my lip. Now, this is a little bit more serious than basal cell skin cancer. And fortunately, it was caught early. All is fine, and it was handled successfully. I have no scar. So the most effective thing we can do for our skin is really using sunscreen. According to the Mayo Clinic and my dermatologist, 90% of all wrinkles come from exposure to the sun. It's not your genetics, it's not anything else, it's how much sun exposure you've had throughout your life. And you may be thinking, it's too late for me. I've already had all this sun exposure and there's no way that it doesn't make a difference at this point. It's too late, but it's never too late. We're going to be talking about retinoids in a few minutes, and that's a way to reverse sun damage, but you don't want to do any more damage at this point. So sunscreen is an absolute must. And don't forget protecting, and I'm guilty of this, putting sunscreen on your chest, your neck, your hands. These are things that I haven't done and I have to make a conscious effort to do. Now, some of you may be thinking, wait a minute, you need the vitamin D from the sun, and that's just something that's healthy and it's required. Well, you can get vitamin D from other sources. You can get it from leafy greens, you can get it from dairy foods, you can get it from fish. I don't know about you, but I have my vitamin D levels checked once a year, and I am a little vitamin D deficient, so I have to take a supplement. So it's not absolutely necessary that you get vitamin D from the sun, and you'll get some vitamin D from the sun in any case. Sunscreen is divided into two groups, chemical and mineral. Another way of saying mineral is physical. And I'm going to just tell you off the bat, I prefer mineral sunscreen for a couple of reasons. Some people are sensitive to chemical sunscreens because it's absorbed into the skin, and if you have sensitive skin, sometimes you can react to those chemicals, and I'm just one of those people. It can be a little bit burning. There are some downsides to physical sunscreens, and that is it tends to leave a white cast, and that's not good for certain skin types. What you're looking for in physical sunscreens, or any kind of sunscreens, is the term broad spectrum. That is covering the whole UVA, UVB spectrum. And mind you, this is being covered by the FDA, and they're regulating them. Physical sunscreens have both zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. They're forming a protective layer over the skin. With chemical sunscreens, they're being absorbed into the skin. But as long as they have that broad spectrum, then you know you're covered. You don't need the zinc oxide or titanium dioxide in a certain proportion. Another consideration, there's moisturizer with sunscreen, and there's also makeup like IT CC cream, that's one of them, that has sunscreen in them. Most experts will say, let's not rely on those as your primary source of sunscreen, because the sunscreen is kind of diluted as a result of including them in the moisturizer or in the makeup. They may offer you an extra source of protection, but it shouldn't be your primary source of protection. Another thing to consider is how much to include. You actually need quite a lot. I'm going to show you. I used to dab it on lightly, like moisturizer, but no, you actually need a lot. This is about the amount that I would put on my face. And that's not including my neck or my hands. So that's probably a lot more than you would think. That's a lot of makeup to put on your face. And it's even a lot of moisturizer to put on your face. So that's another good reason to separate your moisturizer and your makeup from your sunscreen. Let me show you my favorite ones right now. So here's one of them. It's the Australian Gold SPF 50 Tinted Moisturizer. It sells for about $17 in Ulta. It's a broad spectrum, and it's one that is highly recommended. It does have some botanical fruit extracts, which could be a little irritating for some people, and some people do find it a little drying, but I really do like it, especially for the summer. The one I've been using lately is the Elta MD Broad Spectrum. This one's a little bit more expensive, but I like it because it's a little bit lighter. I'm gonna show you. Where is it? It's a little runnier. You can see it's a little lighter. It's more expensive. It's about $21.66 for how many ounces? For 1.7 ounces as opposed to 3 ounces, but I like it, and to me it's worth the price. Both of them are tinted. As I said to you earlier, the thing with physical sunscreens is that they tend to have a white cast, so the tinted sunscreens are kind of nice because you don't have that white cast. Let me just say that there are combination sunscreens where you can get the physical sunscreen in combination with the chemical. Dermatologists will tell you that you're supposed to reapply your sunscreen if you're out at the beach every 2 hours. All right, that makes sense. But they want you also to reapply your sunscreen 3 times a day. Well, how do you do that if you have your makeup on? That is awkward. I'm not taking off my makeup, reapplying my sunscreen, and then putting my makeup back on. There are these products. This one is called Brush On Block. This is a physical sunscreen, so it's zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, and you can simply brush it on your face, kind of like a brush-on foundation. Now, another company that does this is Color Science, and I think they're much better known, but this one is $24. I'll link it below. Color Science, I believe, is twice the amount. You can get replacement cartridges. You can see it's just powder. This is transparent, so you don't see any difference in my skin. Whenever I remember to do it, usually I'm in the car as a passenger or at a red light, something to have in your purse to add additional sunscreen. Okay, now that we've dealt with prevention of wrinkles from here going forward, let's talk about the exciting part of skincare, and that is getting rid of the wrinkles that we do have. We're going to talk about retinoids. There is really good research behind using retinoids in wrinkle prevention. In fact, that is the gold standard in anti-aging. What retinoids do is they boost the collagen and penetrate the deep layers of the skin to really repair the skin. So what is collagen? Collagen is the protein that naturally occurs in the skin that keeps our skin plump and youthful. And of course, as we age, we lose collagen. Retinoids helps make the collagen that we've lost through time. What else is new? What else are we losing through time? You can get retinoids through prescription or over the counter. You've heard probably of Retin-A. The active ingredient in Retin-A is Tretinoin. It's considered a drug by the FDA and it's regulated by the FDA. Retinol, which is not, and that's what you can find in Ulta and Sephora and CVS and whatever. Tretinoin can be directly used by the skin, whereas retinol has to be converted by the skin to be usable. So why not just use Tretinoin? You know, it's better, it's more usable. Well, there's a price to be paid both figuratively and literally. To get Tretinoin, you've got to go to a doctor and get a prescription and go to a pharmacy and pay the price for that prescription. It may or may not be covered by insurance. There's another way of getting prescription Tretinoin, and the way that I get it is through a service called Curology. And the way it works is that you work with an online dermatologist. You take pictures of your skin, you communicate online, and they will prescribe a potion which is specifically for you, tailored to your skin. It includes Tretinoin, I don't know if you can see this, Tretinoin, along with a couple of other ingredients. In my case, it's azelaic acid and niacinamide in different percentages. And this costs about $20 a month. Increase the amount of Tretinoin according to your tolerance of the product. I'll put the link for Curology below. This is not sponsored, but I think it is a good product and something to consider. I believe that if you subscribe, the first month might be free. Another thing to consider with Tretinoin are the side effects. That's the other price that you pay. Often people do have side effects such as redness, dryness, itchiness, and general irritation. They may have to limit the number of times a week they can use the Tretinoin, or they need to go to a lower strength, or they may have to build up to a certain strength. Tretinoin is not an overnight fix. It's going to take months to see an improvement. You have to be patient to see the effects over time. And while you're using Tretinoin, you have to use a sunscreen because it does make your face more sensitive to the sun. So those two things, sunscreen and retinoids, do go together, and you have to make sure that you're using both. The other nice thing about Tretinoin is that it does lighten sunspots or aging spots, whatever you want to call them. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, there it is. There's that one. That little sunspot was way darker when I started, and now it has faded quite a bit. And it's enabled me to cover it with medicine. Okay, I'm gonna get even closer. Here it is. Before that, there was nothing that I could do to really cover it, so I'm much happier, and I give the props to the Tretinoin. Tretinoin is over the counter in foreign countries. It's not regulated the way it is by the FDA in the US. So if you're in another country, you could pick it up. Sometimes pharmacies at airports, you can pick it up, and it's not going to be that expensive. If you want to know more about my nighttime routine and even my daytime routine, put a comment down below. I'll be happy to do my skincare routine, so I show you exactly what I do and how I do it. I want to mention two other products. One was recently changed from prescription only to now you can buy it in the pharmacy, and that is adapalene, and the brand name is Differin. And that was originally used for acne, but it's a retinoid, and you can buy it for anti-aging. There hasn't been as much research done on that for anti-aging, but it is a good product. So if you can't get Tretinoin, you can try adapalene. And another one is tazarotene, and that one is probably not used as much. It's as effective, or maybe even more effective than Tretinoin, but the problem is it's a little bit more irritating, so it's probably not used as much. Now we're going to talk about retinols. Retinols, some people consider the poor cousins because they're the over-the-counter options for retinoids. You can buy them anywhere, which makes them possibly a lot cheaper, but you know, there's some very expensive versions of retinols as well. Retinols have to go through a two-step conversion process in order to be used by the skin. First of all, they have to be converted into retinaldehyde, and then they have to be converted into retinoic acid. So why use them at all? Well, they do have some effective, even though they're 10 to 20 times weaker than the tretinoin. It's an option for you if you can't get tretinoin. I do use retinol, and I use it on my neck because tretinoin is way too strong for me, and I'm going to show you what I use. Peter Thomas Roth Retinol Fusion PM. This happens to be an oil. See that it goes on smoothly. It does not have any irritation effect. It's very nice, and the reason I decided to purchase this was purely dollars and cents. I got a refill bottle, and I figured out it was like $17 an ounce, and that compares to Neutrogena Rapid Wrinkle Repair, which is about the same cost. But do your math, because they are not regulated by the FDA. You just have to trust the product, and I'm not sure exactly how you do that. I said it went through a two-step conversion process. The first step is retinaldehyde. You can buy some retinaldehyde products which only have to go through a one-step process, and they will be slightly more effective. I have not used them, but I'm considering when my bottle runs out, because as I said, I'm pretty frugal and I'm not gonna not use what I have, but I'm going to try Avene Retrin AL. They have a retinaldehyde product which could be more effective, and I'm going to put the link to that product below and you can check it out if you're interested. I'm going to continue to use both tretinoin and retinol and antioxidants and ceramides and some other skin products. The other skin products I'm intending, if you're interested, to cover in my next video. So in this video, I focused on the most important things that you can do for your skin and the most important things I do for my skin, which is using a broad spectrum sunscreen and a retinoid, which hopefully will be something that contains tretinoin. I hope this video was helpful for you, and I hope it was important to you that I focused on the why. Why is it important to use these products? I'm interested in what works for you. What are you using now, and what do you like? What are you not happy with? If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with your friends and subscribe. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.